Hello everyone, welcome back to another drawing tutorial. This time I'm going to be showing how to draw a headshot, or more importantly just kind of the neck up of a character, sometimes involving the shoulder, varies on how you do it. This is kind of a pickup from my very first tutorial where I just showed line art of like the whole body. This time I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on the face, the details of them, and where everything is supposed to be placed. Now, as I said before, this is with Paint Tool Sci on like my computer setup. Pick up what lessons you can from it. If you have the same program, then you have the same program. It's not necessarily that important. So let me just get started here. I first did this outline where just a circle and a plus going across it. Now the plus is something that I picked up people doing, and I've adapted it to kind of point the direction of the face before I even get started drawing anything. So, since the circle is supposed to be the whole head, the plus is kind of bending in this direction over here, and this downward line is bending that direction, so we can infer that the whole face is going to be facing to the left with a slight tilt. Not that important, but it's kind of wanted to give an explanation for what this crazy shape is you're looking at. So if we zoom in a little bit. Now, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll actually get started on the eyes or the snout of the character, just because those are very centralized to the face. And we can use these marks to determine where everything should go. So, say the eye should be, I don't know, let's say roughly around here, and roughly around here on the other side. So about 2/3 of the way across is where I'm going to start this. That other one is actually a little bit too close to the side, so roughly right there. So as I draw this in, the way I do eyes, I've got no real explanation for it. This is not necessarily going to be a how to draw like me, it's going to be more so a how to make a face, or the basic structures to a face. And you can adapt these lessons to use for yourself. Now, these are going to be spaced kind of far apart from each other, or at least they're going to look like it. But that's to give room for the snout that's going to be going right in the middle. Whereas as a person, your nose is obviously going to be like that wide, maybe even a bit smaller. Anthros have the unique ability of it being freaking huge. Gotta be able to smell things, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to leave a little bit more room in between these two. And notice how the marks I left here are almost in the same spot on the eye. These are basically just a guideline to let you know where this is supposed to go. And of course, same could be said across the brow. You can kind of infer how far apart they should go based on that, and these you can use to say how high up, or even this you can use to say high up. It's just nice to have the X and Y axis. So now that we have the eyes in, let's get started on the snout. Now because of the angle of this, you're still going to see the full eye and the full amount of the snout. And of course, this is kind of how I draw them. Since it's going to be facing downward a little bit, you're going to be seeing the top. I need to make that a little bit thinner. And this line over here is not going to be there. Actually, that one probably won't be there either. This layer itself is just designed to be a rough sketch layer. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, I could just like do a scribble right across the face, and as long as I mentally remember that scribble's not important, it's not going to be in the final one. I'll delete it because I don't want to confuse anybody. Now, this front length is pretty arbitrary, or at least in this case, as it doesn't exactly pertain too much. I'm not too specific with this character. And of course, I'm going to be drawing my main Sona because that's simply easier. It's what I've done. But the face, the front of it, the face of the face. Sure. The face of the face is actually kind of important, because this is where, at least for me, I help to show what type of species it is. So the way you can do it is you can just imagine two boxes on top of each other. Pretty straightforward, right? Now if we angle this box back a little bit, same goes for this box, so it kind of matches up. And then you drag this line back. You can widen that just slightly. All in the editing. All in the editing. Then, if we erase this stuff away, just so I can quick show you, I can drag this side up just slightly to a point, and back down, lining it up roughly to where this line was before, and bring it back for a bit of a smile. I need to put this to the side a bit. There. And so you have a roughly fox-like face. And if we put in just a rough assumption of a nose. Now notice how I put this line in? Oh, whoa, what happened there? Oh, I accidentally moved around my color. Notice how I put this line in, and then I completely ignored it going down here. Again, this layer is entirely designed to just kind of be ignored if it needs to be ignored. So now we have the front of the face. Let's actually pull this side back down, kind of imagining the shape of the face. The circle doesn't exactly pertain to the bottom of the face down here. So this, unfortunately, this is kind of going to be a learned trait. But you can take it back to X far and just throw it up a little bit. Throw the line up, pointing to the sky, and then we leave it for now. We'll come back to this area. On this side, we're going to be doing a very similar idea. Using the curvature of this for a rough guideline, we can pull it out over here, and we'll know roughly where it should be. In fact, that's not a very good spot. Guidelines. That's a bit of a better location. So now that we kind of have the bottom slope of the face going across here, let's jump back over to this side. Now, the side here is going to be for the side floofs. I don't know what they're supposed to be called, so they're called side floofs. And at least with this species, it's going to be a fox, or fox-like at least. You can just go crazy with the side floofs. People seem to have agreed, or at least artistically agreed, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rhyme or reason, just kind of they all end up pointing back. So add a little bit of an extra spike there. And so they all kind of point into this direction. And notice how I use this line to know where I should end it, right above that line. Now, we have the same line over here, so we know roughly here is where we need to end it. So this side thing that I said was the bottom of the face is probably going to actually become the side floofs itself. And then a little bit down there. So, now we have the two side floofs. Now, for the rest of this, I'm going to be actually jumping up a layer and changing the color, just so I can kind of tell the difference a little bit. Now, normally I would go back in and redraw all of this, but since it's already there, I'm not going to bother with it quite right now. Instead, I'm going to jump up to the top of the face and work a little bit on the ears. Now, the ears are kind of in an abstract place where they would normally go. So, they should be roughly there, and they end anywhere down here. Or up here. See, the ears is where you see a lot of different variation in how people draw it. So, recently, and I do say this recently because it's just kind of how I've been doing it, I will start them actually behind the side floofs, bring them up, actually I need to bring that out a little bit more, but bring them up and out, and then roughly at a place there, I can pull them back in. Now, the ears is another place where you can really point out what species it is. So, kind of a pointed shape. Actually, that needs to be pointed a little bit more, so I'll bring this up a little bit, and then straight down and get rid of that curve. That curve does not need to be there. So that shape is a bit more fox-like, as they're a bit more pointed ears. Cats are also pointed ears, but they have smaller ones, so they'll start right there. Other animals will have rounded shaped ears. Some will be very small rounded shaped ears. Really, it just comes down to looking at the species itself and how other people will draw them. Of course, this is a fox, so learn it like a fox. And then the outside of the ear flap, I'm actually going to lower this just a little bit. There. And so you have the one ear. Now, this area is roughly this far from here. So if we can imagine the foreshortening on the other side of the circle, it should be somewhere around here, where the other one should start. And of course, we already know it should end behind here. So we bring it up to roughly the same place, but imagining that it will fall just slightly in height for being the direction that the face is going. And then imagining that since the face is turned, this might go behind the head a little bit. So you have the other ear. And of course, you put in the outer ear thingamajig. Ear flap? I don't know how it would be described. Jeez. And then I would say draw that in, but this character has hair, and it is messy and unkempt and unclean. Not unclean, I take a shower every day, jeez. So it really has no rhyme or reason. Lucky, lucky me. Alright. There you go. Now, this is for the front of the face. For the top of it, at least for this character, it just kind of can jump up a little bit and go back down, or it can just go straight. That's the nice thing with this character, especially for this tutorial. No rhyme or reason. You guys can try this out, and you really are not going to mess it up too awful badly. Awful badly. I'm just making up phrases on the fly today. The only detail this character really has is sideburns, which, for the most part, aren't really that there or that visible. They just generally will go down to the line level or a bit further, a bit above it. Depends on what they're feeling like that day, huh? And we also have to imagine that this hair will go behind the head as well. Since it doesn't just magically retreat into the back here somewhere like there's some monster eating all the hair. It actually should be coming out roughly here, because we still have this circle in the background to work with. So since it ends roughly on the circle, it should exit roughly on the circle. And again, keeping to the theme of this character does not keep their hair that well done up, we shouldn't be able to see it on that side. So we only have to do it on this side. Sweet, half the work. Now, notice how I ended it right here. I'm going to be including the neck into this headshot and a little bit of the shoulders, because the neck is important so it doesn't feel like just a disembodied head just kind of, hanging out in the middle of the screen, and that can just look and feel kind of awkward to just see. So the neck is pretty important, or at least I feel it's pretty important that that is included, just so that it gives the feeling of this is a real thing, not just like a floating head. And of course the shoulders are just to help add to that effect. For the sake of keeping this going, I'm not going to point out how exactly the hair was drawn in and different styles that you could do. I might save that for another video. I am going to kind of sketch in the rest of this stuff while I'm on this layer. That way I can get rid of this annoying lime green color that's probably an insult to your eyes. I'll be back in just one moment. And welcome back. So I had to move around a couple of things. Again, it's a sketch. This entire purpose of this drawing, or at least this layer, is to be moved around and to be ignored if need be. So I moved the eye down to the right a little bit, and I made the nose bigger and kind of rearranged how the face worked. Now, if you ever want to place the nose to be a bit more accurate, imagine that it's directly in line with the top of the mouth. That is that's how I do it. And of course the top of the nose will generally be along this line, if not a little bit above it. So that's a couple of rules of thumb you can use to help place the features on the mouth. Now, as I jump the layers up one more, and I switch over to my inking pencil, I will have to drop the opacity on this a little bit, just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. And I go into the line work that I was talking about before, wherein you can use different variances on the line weights. If I could do this line, but no, you can use different variances of the line weights and the other things that I've talked about in my previous tutorial, and just kind of ink in everything. The hair is messy and unkempt, so you don't have to have very clean and precise lines to match what the sketch was underneath. Again, that's like the one real benefit with this, with the design of this character, is that I never really take care of my hair. And of course, slightly thicker lines for the ears. If I could get a straight line right now, blah 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 blah. There we go. Bit too curvy. Goes off the edge. Good enough. And of course, the eyes can be done on a different layer just because they are different level of complexity, and it's easier to do the entire thing all in one swoop than it is to like avoid the lines that are around it. Sound effects. 100% needed in this production. And of course, you can just erase the other things because they're done on different layers. A benefit to doing this digitally, if you're doing this traditionally, well, there's other ways to get around it. Specifically, most good papers will allow you to actually erase quite a bit before they become an issue with drawing another line. Or even if you're actually doing this inking phase, you have a bit more control over certain aspects, so generally you won't be going through your other lines. The sideburns are generally the same line weight as the eye, or as the hair, and then the eyes can be kind of just scribbled in here. Now, there's not a whole lot for me to say regarding this specific step, as I went over just about everything I've done here in the previous video. Not even the previous video to this. I am just missaying things like crazy right now. So I think I'm going to throw this into time-lapse, and I will see you when I am close to the finished version, and we can talk about the drawing and different stuff that we had used. See you soon. Welcome back. Right now I am just kind of wrapping up the drawing. I've put this ring here, and I hope to use it to make a... Oh! Whoa! How'd that happen? Was that supposed to be an eraser? And I hope to use it to make a simple background for this. And I'm going to be erasing away these shoulders here, just so that I can kind of put this in a shape, at the very least, so it looks a bit nicer and a bit more final, instead of just, again, that floating headshot issue, which you can still have that issue even with the neck and the shoulders. This is just one way that I use to get around it. While I'm doing this, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'd done. The colors, I have all of them saved on a reference, which if you look at the bottom, you can see is open down there. And it's just simply a reference of the character's shape and size and some colors that I have for him, just so I can do this whole thing easier. Then I just selected out the areas and hit fill all. It's not too complex, nothing too crazy needed. I want the ear to be in front of the circle up here, but the rest of the body to be behind. The ear is important, the body can end. So for the colors, I just kind of filled them in, then did another layer on top of them, and just kind of scribbled in all of the different colors on the character. The shading itself is a simple cell shaded style. You can't actually do a true cell shading in Paint Tool Sci, or at least the tools don't seem to want to let you. So it's not exactly cell shaded, but it's a rough estimate with the materials that I have. So make do with what materials you have. And of course I can show in future videos. That is terrifying. But in a future video I can show how to do the shading, how I did it, and even other styles, as well as showing how I did the coloring and other ways that you can go about it. I realized I never actually gave the whites of the eyes. So for the actual background color itself, it's going to be really simple. There's no need to have anything complex because the picture itself is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So I'm just going to have a simple circle with this in the background. And now that I have this where it is, I will sign it and we will be off. And with that, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you learned here today, I'm going to have my email in the description below. Feel free to try out what you learned and actually send it to me. I'd love to see what you make. If you have any other ideas of what you might want to see worked on in the future, leave those in the comment section down below as well, and I'll certainly take it in for consideration. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.